Welcome to Season 5 of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast. As your host, Yvette Valdenegro
and Giovanna Burgess-White,
we bring you fresh perspectives, bold conversations, and transformative tools to elevate every connection in your life.
This year, we're embracing new year, new vibes with a refined focus on the trifecta of self, time, and money, guiding you to cultivate the relationships you desire and deserve. Each week, we'll unveil elevated insights designed to inspire, empower, and help you thrive in every facet of your life.
Welcome to Season 5. Let's begin this transformative journey together. Hello. Welcome everyone. And you're not seeing weird metaverse but we thought we'd try something different and fun, and so that you can focus in on our beautiful faces and not necessarily the background. How about that one?
How about my internet only works here now? So this is where I'm at until we meet again in the office, because I think we just need to do office episodes.
Okay, whatever we got to do. But as everybody knows who listens to us anyway, we're unscripted, we go live, and we're real. So welcome to Redesigning Your Relationship. And guess what? Welcome to part 3 of this series that has been very interesting and needed, and a lot of things that we don't talk about when it comes to relationships and waking up and trying to figure out, do I try to fix this or do I let it go? And I just thought 50% of all people in committed relationships ask themselves this very question: do I fix it or do I let it go? Or I should say more people do, but we know that at least 50% of all the people who are thinking of it come to a decision about something. So this is very heavy and weighty on a lot of people's minds and hearts and in the back of their brains as they're at work today. But we're here to talk about it to help relieve some stress and some anxiety, and maybe hopefully help someone make some decisions in their life.
Yes. And so if you didn't listen to part 1 and part 2, go back. They're short episodes. I'm just going to do a recap. Part 1 was why love fades and how to bring it back. Part 2 was the silence between us, so how to stop the communication breakdown. And then today we're going to talk about part 3, which is trust, time, and dollars, the key to a stronger partnership. So go back and listen to 1 and 2. And then right now we're going to hit you with part 3, and then we're going to, this mini podcast topic will be done, and then we're going to come out with some new stuff. Can't wait. So.
All right. Let's start from the top. First of all, these 3, when trust, time, and dollars, I think we could do a whole episode just on trust, a whole one on time, and a whole one on dollars. Yeah. But statistically, we all know that the top things, sex, communication, and finances, are the 3 main things that partners argue about, and the reason that leads to divorce or breakup, separation, or just angst and horrible things in a relationship. So I'm not surprised that part 3, we're going to be talking about trust, time, and dollars, because one of those is in there. But trust, let's just start out there. When I looked at this and I was like, yeah, betrayal and infidelity. It's crazy how my mindset too is like, you think of situations, things that either you've been through or you know about, or other people, like, this is such a huge topic. But then I also was like, trust. When trust is broken, it is probably one of the hardest things to rebuild, because your internal emotions tell you, don't do that again. You're just asking for problems and heartaches, and you're going to be crushed again. But now my first thoughts were going back to the reality of, do I or anybody else trust themselves first? Because when you trust yourself first, then, and if you can, you have to actually decide, can I actually trust myself to make good decisions, to do what I need to do, if I say I'm going to do something, that I'm actually going to stick. All the things, it starts within ourselves. And do we trust ourselves? Because if we can't trust ourselves, how in the world are we going to trust others? But then secondly, I think that gives you a different outlook on how to begin to trust other people. So that's what I love. The beauty about what we do is there's different angles on how to look at a situation, and taking it off the other person, even though they may be responsible for some things. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to just disregard, but it really does go back to how we view ourselves And I'm really just saying that because when I read the betrayal and the infidelity and I was writing, the notes, I'm like, this one emotionally is very difficult for a lot of people because it's very damaging.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the second one, I think we always talked about this when we were engagement coaching about financial stress and how people are like, oh, money. I'm like, money is, again, top 3. And I mean, look, we always told people when they were getting married, it's good to go through some of these things beforehand to see how you react, how other people react, but like even like loss of a parent, loss of family, financial loss, financial stress, loss of a job, like a career, because man, when it's hard to talk about, people still don't like to talk about money. And then since you're not used to it and you're uncomfortable, it goes back to like that communication of like this takes a toll on most people's relationship. It doesn't matter if money's separate, if it's together, if it's however you, and that's another thing. People don't even talk about that before they get married. Like, oh, we'll figure it out after we get married. It's like, that's not how this works. So I think like topic 2 is really understanding like financial values, working as a team, like sometimes the ups and the downs, like the seasons, because there's seasons of money, but how do you deal with financial stress and how does your partner deal with it?
And it's a mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be in a relationship where one of you saves and can't even imagine, spending a dime. And then the other one's like, what does it matter? I just want to spend. We have it in our bank account. Well, that's not the same. And that can create such tension and, again, lack of trust, because then one person's thinking, what are you doing with the money? Where did it all go? I can't trust you. I'm not going to put it in the account. And then what do you mean I can't? I mean, it just that's the tone for so much stress and angst and built up over time. And I think that's, I think one of the things that's really hard about when you're in a relationship for a long period of time, if you didn't have the practice of bringing things to that person, like, hey, I think we need to talk about this, or I've noticed some of these things. Do you have a minute? I really would like to share what I'm thinking and hear what you're thinking. Like, if you don't have those conversations over time, month after month after month, year after year after year, that's a lot of bitterness. And it can resentment that can grow into hatred. It can grow into like nauseating, like, I don't even want to be around that person because they disgust me so much. And I know that sounds funny, but that's like the reality of where we all get. And a lot of times it's because we didn't take the time to actually, 1, understand what we wanted, and 2, then communicate that. And we didn't give the other person actually the opportunity to adjust. Because once you present something, it's no longer your responsibility to make someone change. It's their responsibility of how they want to adapt or change or modify or not what you're asking or what you're sharing, or come to some kind of agreement. Which goes into number 3, as far as the respect and personal space. This one is almost, to me, 100% communication, because respect is not a thing you can give. Like, here's my bucket of respect. You know what I mean? Personal space. Oh, take this. It's your personal space. No, it's not something it's something you communicate, develop, and understand as far as what the other person needs or wants in their life. And that's different for all people and what that means. But like we always say, no one's going to know what you're thinking. You have to actually say, this is how I view relationship, or this is how I view time together, or time spent away, or just time in general. Mindset over time in general. I mean, it sounds so basic, but we know that even something as far as time management can irritate people.
Oh yeah.
So
we know that. And this is where the B word comes in. Boundaries. Like, you got to set those boundaries. And it's like people don't want, they're like, oh, well, I mean, I just assume that little things when I got home. So people just want to decompress and not have a conversation. And it's like, oh, well, that's, how does your partner know that? Right. It's like, or morning routines. Some people don't respect that, but you got to let them know. Like, I have my morning routine. This is my time. And then set time for each other. Just like you have set time for personal space. It's important to spend that quality time with one another, and vice versa. It's a 2-way street here too. So
yeah, I really feel like for all 3 of these things, communication is super key. Truly sharing how you feel and not candy coating or trying to skirt the issue by not just saying what it is. Because I think, especially in these three, the direct approach is probably the best, because you can put finances on paper, right? You can actually look at it. Like, so look at what are we really doing? What are we really spending? How's this really going? And then the trust side of it, I would just say, out of all the years that I've ever dealt with infidelity and people and counseling, all that kind of stuff, you have to be transparent with yourself first and foremost, what you've done, where you're really at, and what's really happening, and then with the other person, because there is no way to build trust when you're still not being trustworthy. And the only way to come clean with that, or the only way to start building that, is, it's scary, but to come clean.
Yeah.
Because then when it's almost like you go, here are all my cards, here's all the ugh. If you can divulge it and just go, let's work with this again. And we talked about another the other two parts, that the two people have to be in agreement for that. Like, it's two people who have to come together and say, yes, this happened, I didn't like it, but yes, we love each other and we want to work on it, and then build that trust back up. And for anybody who's listening to this, it does take both sides. It takes the side of the person who did the wrong, 100% come clean, be willing to live in that for a little while because there was a wrongdoing. And then the only way to build trust is to show that you really are a changed person, or that you get it, and that you're wanting to move on. And then that other person's responsibility is to be like, okay, this is going to take time, but I'm going to allow the opportunity to see how this can this go in a better direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can ask.
Yeah. Should we do our
questions? Melancholy right now, huh?
Should we do our caller questions?
Oh yeah. Okay.
I feel like it's some of that. We talked about some of it.
Okay. What we might do. Okay. Question number 1. How do I rebuild trust after my partner was unfaithful? We just kind of said that. And I'll just add, you've got to be willing. You have, both of you have to be willing to go through the yucky times. You're not going to want to hear what you have to hear. Both sides. You're not going to want to, and Jesus, please get a counselor or someone to help you navigate what to say and not to say, because you don't want to make it worse. Yeah. And this is where getting a professional really will help you in the long run. You want to add anything to that?
No, I think just the professional help, because that's okay. Someone, you need a guide.
Okay. Question number 2. We constantly argue about money. A lot of people do. How do we get on the same page financially?
That's a good question. I mean, this happens in all relationships. I think there has to be a happy medium. Like, you gotta talk about it. And we talked about it earlier. It's like the mindsets are probably completely different. So really ask about that, because that's important. Like, how, again, spending money for some people is easier than others, and then come up with short-term and long-term. Like, what does that look like? What are we spending? What are we not spending? So this is like, I always tell people it's hard to talk about, but then when you talk about it, it's like, oh my God, that was way easier than I expected. And then holding each other accountable, obviously. And again, this doesn't mean like you have to have the same bank account. It could just mean spending habits, going out to eat dinner. If we're traveling, like, how much are we spending? Like, again, having the other B word, the budget word, is fine. Budgeting is great. It's just like time management and calendar integrity. It's something that you can hold yourself accountable with. And then also with saving money and long-term money. And then it goes back to like working. Like, some people only have one income. So all those things go just back to communication, but having a middle ground, and then setting time aside to talk about, if it's monthly, if it's quarterly, however your household wants to work. But the beginning parts are like, how do I feel about money? What's my mindset around money? How do you feel about money? What's your mindset around money? And then what are your thoughts? And then have that happy medium.
Yeah. And I think the key here is just be on the same page. You don't have to be the same word in the same sentence in the same paragraph. You don't have to be exact. It's just understand what is the common goal with our finances. And if you get to it at different ways, who cares? You're getting to the same goal. But
and there's professionals that can help with that too.
Yeah.
Money mindset coaches, there's financial advisors. So you don't have to do it alone, because that's another thing, like investments and portfolio. Like some people are like so scared of them, and other really. So also educate yourself around it and find somebody who can help you.
Yeah. All right. Number 3. I feel like I do everything at home and my partner doesn't appreciate it. How do I set boundaries? You want to?
I mean, there's so many things I can say to that. Like,
Yeah, I feel like if we just take the basic part of this, the first thing is you have to understand what your boundaries are.
mhm.
And then did you communicate them?
I was gonna say, do they know? Does your partner know the boundaries? And then
Yeah.
did your partner ever say, "I don't appreciate anything you do"? Because that's a thought. Like I'm thinking that my partner doesn't appreciate, but they may, and they just may have not said it. Or if they said it, then that's a different conversation. But I would say 9 out of 10, no one's going, "I'm not appreciating everything that you do." And the opposite, right? Like maybe your partner's doing something and you haven't voiced it, and they're thinking, "Well, my partner doesn't appreciate, I go put the gas in the car all the time, or, whatever. I'm doing the grocery shopping." So again, key is communication. If you have boundaries, what are they? Do you know them? And does your partner know them? And do they understand them? Because you may have been like, this is a boundary, or this is something that you're setting yourself up for, but they may not understand that either. Because most people don't sit down and go, "Hey, let's have a date night and like talk about our boundary setting." Said no one.
No, no. Well, and I feel like maybe this question is because it's maybe escalated because most people, it's like, well, I'm not really bothered until it gets to a point where I'm really pissed off about it. But I really think it goes back to if they've really said that to you, then have a conversation because then, I mean, you're getting into the weeds and a lot of people just want to avoid that. They would just want, I'm like, I don't like the conflict. I don't want to say anything. Well, then you're going to keep getting the same results. So it's going to take that effort and you may not like what you have to hear and they may not like it, but you're going to, again, have to have this conversation or else it's not going to get any better and be willing.
Their love language too may not be words of affirmation or understanding that that's an act of service. So if you don't know each other's love languages and you doing everything at the house and that's your acts of service and they don't get that, they're not going to understand like, well, why are you upset? And if you didn't communicate, it's like, again, it's like, well, I had no idea. I can't read your mind. And if you don't understand all the love languages, which is why we tell our clients, like, it's not just about yours and your partners, it's about all of them. So to understand, like, well, I need words of affirmation, thanking me for the acts of service. Like, I don't, there's like a whole recipe for that. But then that's taking time to learn about yourself and to learn about your partner and learn together, because they're not going to read the book and go, "Oh, this is my partner."
Yeah. Okay. My partner and I have totally different spending habits. I think most people do.
Yes. Welcome to our life. Yes.
Can a relationship
Our life. Like our life.
Oh my God, yes.
And then
That have totally different spending habits. Well, I would say this with YGC.
Mhm.
The way I do my own personal is probably more like how you do YGC. Okay. My partner. Okay. So can we survive? Can our relationship survive? Oh, yes. I just like common sense just tells you that you're probably not aligned in everything anyway. Do you eat the same foods? Do you like to watch the same things? No. So
No,
it's okay.
my work wife, give me my budget, please. Just tell me how much I can spend. And then I go, but really that's another 10%. So do the math and then another 20%. But we're still here.
No, and we don't change the numbers. It is what it is. But yeah, you can have those discussions as far as like it's not that hard, but I think that we really do make it hard because people just don't say something. But yes, you can survive. Actually, to me, different spending habits, it can be very frustrating and you can get upset and be like, "Oh my God, you spent that and you weren't supposed to." But that's not the end all in a relationship. Typically, that's not usually because you don't talk about it, then something happens or the resentment or that person just starts slow, like we talked about in parts 1 and 2, they slowly just start to, disconnect. And that's when things start to happen. So it's not actually, can you survive because you guys don't have the same spending habits. It's really, can you survive if you don't have the communication and the discussions about it? Because that's when crazy stuff starts happening in your relationship. That's what drives people apart.
Totally.
Okay. Last but not least, we spend all of our time together, but it's starting to feel suffocating. It's so crazy how this is such a common thing. How do we create healthy space without feeling disconnected? First of all, I love this question because this person really does care. They're a very caring person that they actually like, well, sounds like what can I do so that we're not so disconnected in because we're spending so much time together and I feel suffocated.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
let you answer this, Gio.
Huh?
I'll let you answer this.
Oh, I mean, this just goes back to everything we talked about. Your love languages, communication, there's seasons, we grow. And sometimes, again, seasons with money too. Like there's going to be seasons where you're spending and seasons where you're saving. I think same thing with pockets of time. There's going to be seasons in each other's life where you have more time to spend together. But it goes back if you didn't have those boundaries, like if one person's working and the other person isn't. That's like the perfect example, right? And you stay at home parent, because I'm going to say stay at home mom. They're doing things behind the scenes that their partner is not seeing, and vice versa. So is the partner that's working. So establishing of like, what do you want your mornings to look like? Chris and I just like talked about this actually because he's home a lot more, and I'm like, we really need to spend like one morning together where it's uninterrupted for myself and then uninterrupted for him. And it may not be the day he wants, and it may not be the time I want, but understanding it's like even though we're both in the same house, we're doing different things. And it's again, communication, setting the boundaries. And then sometimes it's understanding the why. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you, but this is how I pour back into myself so that I can pour into you. And I think, again, this what happens with our clients when their partners retire, right? Now it's in their home. And it's like, oh, well, they never really saw, you never seen your partner in their working habitat or non-working habitat. And then sometimes people just don't have a routine yet in the season of life that they're in. So it's hard, but you have to talk about it. And I'm not going to say this is more, women are a little more disciplined, but yeah, men, when they retire, and sometimes women too, they just don't know what to do. So they have all this time on their hand and they think, oh, well, I can just spend it with my partner, or I can do more things with my partner. And instead of really finding a hobby or a completely different routine from what they've been doing the past 40 years, it starts to be like, oh my God, you're always here. You're suffocating me. Like, please go. So it really just goes down. It takes time. You have to communicate and come up with a new routine if it's a different season. And if it's the same season and this has been happening, well, then it's just, you guys haven't been talking. Like there's no communication there. You're just, it's assumptions. And quality time may not be your love language. So you're going, and that may be your partner's love language. And you're just going to have to, again, it's not fair to your partner, but you need to come up with a middle ground of like, okay, like quality time with the kids. We talked about that. It's like, even if it's 20 minutes of uninterrupted, no phone, no TikToks. Okay, well, that's 20 times that they're 20 minutes ago, we were hanging out. So, but you have to have a conversation around it. You can't go assuming with any of these topics that, oh, well, that's how my partner's thinking. Well, if they haven't said it, that's the story you're making up in your head.
Yeah, I think that the word suffocating, I get it. Like you can feel like, oh my God, I can't even breathe without this person next to me. But this whole concept isn't just for partners. It can be for people at work and can be like best friends. You can start to feel like, oh my God, that person just texts me every hour on the hour. They're always asking me for my Friday nights. I'm not, like you could feel that with a friend.
Or you can be that person when your kids come home from college. Like, oh, my mom and dad are suffocating me. Trust me, it's the thing. It's like, I'm home, but that doesn't mean I'm spending
quality time, or the way they view it as quality time or whatever. Yeah. So again, it just takes that conversation. But I look at those things, like the money part of it, like spending money to me, that's like, ooh, that's a negative to work out. People wanting to be around other people is a positive, trying to work things out in my mind. Like, it's like, well, you can look at it as like they're suffocating me, but you can also look at like they want to spend time with you. It's just having that conversation of, and I hate to say it like this, but your availability.
Yeah.
Like, when are you available? And when is the best time? Maybe it's just a timing thing. You're like, I never have time in the morning. They're always coming in talking to me, versus like if they were always coming in and bothering you, say at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, would you feel the same way? I don't know. Again, talking, figuring it out, asking yourself the questions. Wow, this has been a really good series, I think, because I liked it because we really brought up the questions were really good to bring up very practical like in the moment, how do I navigate, think, or change some of these things? So I'm really glad that we did this.
Yeah. And we'll be back. Well, I say we'll be back. I think we're going to, weirdly enough, wrap up season 5. We're going to wrap up season 5 early this year because we are moving our time and efforts into 2 different things. One, the collective. So we will be starting the collective, I guess we could call it podcast series because there's a lot. We're going to have panelists, we're going to have industry experts, we're going to have our grant collective winner on next week. But so we'll probably, we're still working on behind the scenes, have our YGC Collective podcast to kind of feature all of our panelists and experts and sponsors. And then we're going to move into something new that we can't really discuss yet. So coming soon, you'll see it on social media. But yeah, I think this will be a great way to wrap up season 5. I'm so excited. And
That's crazy.
I know. So, well, thank you for another amazing season, my beautiful work wife. It was fantastic.
I can have 5 seasons, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I love it. And I am very excited to what this is going to start turning into. And so, yes, we're not going anywhere.
Close out with our 3rd birthday month, our 3rd year birthday month, because we just celebrated 3 years. So we'll wrap up season 5, our 3 years of YGC, and 5 years of us. So.
And look, we conclude our season with our outro that we didn't have in season 1. We've evolved, we've changed, we've grown.
Well, until next week, thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Season 5 of Redesigning Your Relationships podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to check out the poll feature and share your thoughts with us. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Follow us on social media for even more relationship insights and updates on what's coming next. Until then, remember, you have the power to design relationships that bring you joy, growth, and fulfillment into your life. See you next week.